Hi guys. Okay, we are on LTW. So last week you created an issue and then made your Annie with 30 in each. I hope that in your interesting you tried to put a simile and circumstance of what was going on in the world at Crispin's time. So that will make your paper all the more interesting, and that can go in that can go in interesting section of your Annie. Okay, so let's review all of the elements that we have talked about up through Essay 6, which is what we are using that arrangement to do what we're doing this week. So still in Essay 6 on that. Okay, so thesis. Let's remember that the thesis is the statement or proposition that is defended by the essay or the speech. If we were given that. So our essay, it's defended by our essay, and it is derived from a question when the writer converts that question to an issue and decides which side to defend. He restates the issue as a statement and represents it as the affirmative or the negative position that he takes or she takes. Okay, so let's go to exordium. Exordium happens at the beginning of a paper or a speech, a persuasive paper that grabs people's attention. It's the attention getter. It can be a quote, it can be a fact, it can be a challenge, it can be a question. The division is the precise statement of agreement and disagreement between the writer and the opponent. Okay, it's that precise statement that they give in the paper of the agreement and the disagreement between the opponent. Okay, antithesis. This is something we write as far as making our paper stronger. It doesn't go in our outline per se, so this can actually be in your interesting column as well. If you think of one, so you don't forget it, put it in the interesting column, so when you go to write your paper, you'll have it. But antithesis is a mirrored contrast. And again, to err is human, to forgive is divine is the one that we use. That's the one that always comes to my mind to give an example. They can be pretty strong. They can show a pretty strong compare contrast with it and make a paper or a speech very interesting and very strong. So let's move on to amplification. This is going to occur at the end of the paper, and this is why this matters and to who it matters. And then your refutation. This kind of goes, I probably need to put this with division, but I just kind of have them in order as we covered them. This is the response to an opposing argument. This is where we thought of two things that the opposition could say and how we were going to say that that is invalid. But we write the whole thing out in it's several lines in our outline, but when we go to put it in our paper, it's just a sentence or two. It's just the summary of those counterproofs and why they are inadequate. And I gave you an example of that last week. So that if you want to see that, you can go back and look at that video of the summary of it. And then the simile. So a simile is a comparison of two objects that uses the words like or as. So LTW calls that a trope, and it compares those two things, different in kind, but they share one characteristic, a common characteristic. Okay, so this week you are going to sort your Annie, and then when you sort them and you see what they have in common, those are going to be kind of like the general ideas of those groupings that you sort them in, and then those are going to become your proofs. So you're going to sort your Annie, and then you're going to label them as proofs, and then create an outline. And again, we're using it from Lesson 6 arrangement. That is on page 186 in your teacher's edition. So it's going to have all those components. There's 4 Roman numerals, that's going to be a part of. You have your introduction, and then under that you have exordium, division, and distribution. Then you have proof 1, proof 2, and proof 3. Roman numeral 3 is refutation. It has the counter thesis, the counter proof with its summary and inadequacy, the counter proof 2 with its summary and inadequacy, and then D, the summary of refutation. And that's your sentence that will go actually in your paper. D is what goes in your paper. It's the summary of those two proofs, stating the two proofs and why they are both inadequate. So it's typically one sentence. I think we got Jackson's in one sentence, maybe two, but it is just a summary. And then Roman numeral 4 is your conclusion, and it just kind of restates your thesis, your proofs, and then your amplification of why and to whom it matters. Okay, so you'll get your outline done this week on Essay 6 on Crispin, and then you'll continue reading The Bronze Bow, and this is our last book, so we are just chopping it down, getting closer and closer to the end. Okay, we have one more video, which I think is Latin, is my last one, and I'll see you then in the next video. Bye, guys.